Are we doing this? Really? Wait for it. Are we doing this? Wait for it. Pow!
What the fuck?
WTF.
And it's also, what the fuck?
What's wrong with me? It's time for WTF.
What the fuck?
With Marc Maron.
Okay, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking ears? What the fuck nicks? And of course you, what the fucking knots? We're out there in what the fuck orbit. Come on down, or I hope you're getting this. This is Marc Maron. This is WTF. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you're listening. Welcome to the show. A lot of new people listening, and I want to welcome you to the What the Fuck family. Did I just welcome you to the What the Fuck family? Well, fuck it. Welcome to the What the Fuck family. I hope everyone's having a good time. Do you need me to pass the mashed potatoes down to you at the end? Look, folks, a couple of dates right up front so I don't forget and shoot myself in the foot. As much as I love to do it, and I am wired to do it, I'm going to work against that. I will be at the Punchline in San Francisco this weekend. That's Thursday, November 11th, Friday, November 12th, and Saturday, November 13th. So come down if you're available. I'll be available. You come down and we'll hang out. Then, on the 15th of November in Pontiac, Michigan, at the Crowfoot Ballroom. I have no idea what that is or what to expect or what it's close to or where you people are coming in from, but I will be there and I will do a show. It looks like a nice place. I'm excited to come, but all I know is to fly there. I don't know if I needed to get a deal or what, but I seem to be flying through Pennsylvania, then back to Detroit or back to Pontiac. I don't know, but it's going to be a day's journey for me to get to Pontiac, Michigan. I know times are tough there, but I didn't know that they no longer had direct flights into the state. I don't know, but I'm going to be at the Crowfoot Ballroom on November 15th, and I'm looking forward to it. So, look, folks, I'm a little out of it. I woke up, I don't know what happened. I woke up, it felt like someone had been sitting on me all night, and there was nobody sitting on me. I don't mean just like a little person. I mean a person with some girth, with some weight, perhaps a heavy-set apparition. Somehow or another, I woke up, and it felt like I'd been hit by a fucking truck, and I've been trying to pull it together all goddamn day. I've got the sweats. Not because I'm sick, just because it's intensely difficult for me to do just regular fucking things. I don't know what it is. I took my vitamins. Shouldn't that do it? I mean, what is going on? And then I remembered, oh shit. Yeah, the elections. That's what sucked the life out of me. That's what sucked my disposition, into something existentially frightening. But we'll see. I find that I'm not as fucked up as I usually am. And I see a lot of tweets and a lot of people posting like, I'm leaving the country. This is it. We're fucked. It's over. Is it over? Maybe you should have been thinking about that 6 months ago. Is it over? I don't know if it's over. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a shitty 2 to 6 years in the sense that I don't know what's going to get done. Things were getting done. Some people were not happy with the things that were getting done. There's nothing you can do about it. But I have begun to realize that at the plodding pace that legislative democracy works, this ebb and flow of things is par for the course. We've been through worse. It's going to be difficult. I wish us all the best. There's no quick fix. There's no easy cure. There's no overnight patch up that's going to happen. It's just going to be a long, difficult, angry slog. And we're all in it together, except those of you who have so much money that you should send me some. I voted for the pot, but the pot didn't pass. Even though I don't smoke pot, I felt that there was enough momentum, and I appreciated the arguments by the people who enjoy the pot to make the pot happen. But the pot didn't happen, but it put it out there in the world. I also love living in a state that thinks it was that really believed and wanted it to be a reasonable idea that we should tax our state's biggest crop to make some money. I guess taxable pot is a problem for some people, but nonetheless, I would have loved to have a state government that ran on pot money. That part of that would have made me happy. On the show today, Dr. Ken, or as you know him, Ken Jeong from The Hangover, from the show Community. Great actor, great comic actor, also did some stand-up. He approached me. It was very interesting. He's a huge WTF fan. He got in touch with me on Twitter, then we emailed, and I was thrilled to have him out, and we'll be talking to him in just a few, but let me blather on about a few things first. I've been trying to eat healthy, which i.e. means lose a few pounds, which, as you know, is something that is hereditary to me, and I know as a guy it's not great to talk about this, but I am a compulsive eater, And I gotta be honest with you, I'm about sick of fucking air pop popcorn. There's nothing soul fulfilling about air pop popcorn, and there's nothing more clear when you're a compulsive eater that you are that when you're shoveling air pop popcorn into your mouth, because you're trying to fill a pretty big hole. There's a big vacuum there. There's a great sadness at the core of your being towards the bottom of what is your heart chasm that needs to be filled in by temporary spackle in the form of some sort of satisfying food. Air pop popcorn not being that. It's almost like, there's just this horrendous demon mouth at the bottom of my guts, and I just keep shoveling air pop popcorn into its mouth, and it just keeps going, no, no, no. But I keep doing it, and it gets me past the cravings. So I'm waiting for that to stop, and I guess it's really on me to stop that. That aside, today, given that I was queasy and tired, was the day I had to go to the Apple store, which really is usually a pretty pleasant experience. I figure, hey, fuck, it's the middle of the day. It's a weekday. I won't have any problem at all. I walked into the Apple store in Pasadena, and it might as well have been a fucking rave. I could not believe it. There was like 20 employees. There was like 100 people milling around, playing with toys, and all I needed was someone to check my goddamn battery. Then I started having flashbacks about the last time that I relied on those people. I think I've told part of this story before, but I went in there with a memory problem, with an iTunes problem, and some guy there just, at the flip of a button, at the pushing of a button, disposed of my songs, all millions of them, millions of songs thrown away, an empire of music gone because of some genius at the Genius Bar. I felt lost. So that was there in my back of my head, and I think the guy who did it was there, and I looked at him and he looked at me. There were no hard feelings. I don't think he remembered me like I remembered him to be the guy that destroyed my empire of song. Yeah. I saw him as literally some sort of musical genocidal maniac who completely, multi-ethnically cleansed my entire hard drive of music that I had to retrieve in an awkward way by downloading some software that I could rip the songs back off of my iPod. But nonetheless, so I get in there, I got to wait 45 minutes. All of a sudden it's like a fucking doctor's office at the iStore, at the Apple store. And then I got to fight the urge there are people sitting at the Genius Bar that are taking their time. It's almost as if they're like, literally, the way I heard it in my head while I was waiting just to have someone check my battery because I needed to get a new battery, I just saw 4 people sitting at the Genius Bar saying, all right, now how do you work it once it's on? That's what I thought I heard. Literally, people were like, now this button does what? It's enter does what? Now delete, so that if I want that letter to go away, I just push delete? Okay, so that's a start. Now what do we do now? What is this? How do we, I hear that these computers can hold things in something like a memory. Do you have that button? I was going out of my fucking mind, and I'm sweating, and I don't feel well, and I'm getting aggravated. And I didn't know what was going to give. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know whether or not I was going to lose my cool. And then Jessica came in, and she had been at H&M, which scared me when she said, I'm going to H&M, because between me and you, she's got a little, a little shopping thing. But in the middle of my meltdown, she came in and goes, I bought you underwear. And she showed me the underwear she bought me in the Apple store. And somehow or another, that distracted me enough to feel grateful and happy that I had someone buying me underwear. Though I didn't need it, but it was a nice gesture that it disarmed a lot of the anger. And once I approached the Apple guy, they're very nice there. I think that it comes a point when you're at the Genius Bar, you're looking to get something fixed, that they've got to put a cap on the time that they spend with people. Because it seems that if you give people who have computer problems, enough time, they'll sit there for 2 hours and have you show them how to cut a movie. Literally it gets to that point where I'm just sitting there, and then there's a guy going, all right, so now, in order to use Final Cut, which I know isn't an Apple program, why don't we put a short film together just so you can tell me how? Look, I'll shoot it on my iPhone. We'll die. And I'm like, dude, I got a dealable problem here. We're not making movies now. I have new underwear. I'm okay. So Ken Jeong, right?
Yes.
That's how you pronounce it.
Yes.
Now, honestly, welcome to the Cat Ranch.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here at the Cat Ranch.
In the garage. Now, I was talking to my friend. I didn't know you were a doctor for real.
Oh, okay.
Until like a couple weeks ago. Like you're like a real doctor.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of person, why would you fucking choose comedy over being a doctor?
When I went to Duke. I'm from North Carolina, and I went.
Did you know Zach and those guys down there?
I didn't know him there. I knew him when I came out
course,
here. Yeah. But I had, I was pre-med at Duke, and I took some acting classes there, and when I was in college, and I actually got into the drama department there, and I really, at that time I was like 18, 19. I'm 41 now, and I was thinking like, this is really what I want to do. I never did drama in high school. I had no inkling to do it, and I was like, wow, I feel like this is what I really want to do. But at that point, I was in my second semester, sophomore year at Duke, just about to fail out of organic chemistry, and I was not there on scholarship. My parents were not wealthy by any means. And so I think I was kind of Koreaned into staying pre-med. But it wasn't just my father making me do it, although I thought that at that time. But I really was like, okay, I just couldn't go through with it, and I lucked out, and I got into med school, and I declined getting into drama school, and then and once I got into medical school, it was weird. I was like, well, I still had a performing bug, and I just wanted to do something. I really wanted to do theater, and I couldn't do that. And then that's when I started doing like open mics, and I went to UNC
in New Orleans.
No, I went to med school at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which is like half an hour away. And so I started doing some open mics in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Sure, at Charlie Goodnight's.
Charlie Goodnight's is where I really got started. Yeah,
I remember that place.
I was working on my own issues at that time. I was in med school, and I was just trying to. I just felt like I really needed to perform and do something, Well,
that's so weird because like I feel like I didn't know you as a comic. I feel like that.
No one knew me.
Well, but I watched some of your clips. I mean, you've been out there. Yeah. I mean, I talked to Al Madrigal. He knew you.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good friend of mine. And then there's, but I think a lot of when you were out here doing stand up, I wasn't here. Like when you were doing the improv or before you broke it, into TV. Yeah, I never thought I was, again, I was kind of I do think I was kind of the actor who did stand up, to maybe ultimately maybe go back to acting. I think I thought of myself that way. Oh, really?
Yeah, I really did. I really didn't think I was a good stand up in the sense of I wasn't a great writer, and I was a great performer, and I knew I could do that, and I know because I wanted to be an actor, and I really couldn't do that. But I respected the form enough where I played by everybody's rules. Every night I worked at Kaiser at HMO out here in the Valley, and
so you're a practicing doctor.
I was practicing doctor from 99 to 06. Yeah.
I can't believe it. So literally after the show, if I have some problems, you're an internist?
I'm an internist. I can, and my wife's a family practitioner.
And
so
she still works?
She still works at Kaiser. So we could help you. Yeah.
But you talk about medicine. I grew up, my dad's a doctor,
Right.
And I grew up with this, so there's always part of me when I have doctor in there that I'm like, yeah, can you just check out this? I don't want to be weird, but but I can't believe you were a practicing doctor and then you chose to do this.
I can't. I know when I
mean, I mean, now you're a regular on Community. You've been in The Hangover. You've been in Knocked Up. You've been in a lot of movies. You're that guy to a lot of people. There's that guy, that Asian guy.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
They don't know my name. I'm like that guy.
But you're always funny, and you always have a certain tone. I mean, and like here you are, a very pleasant person, and I've watched your stand-up, and I see the characters that you usually end up evolving into, and it's very aggressive.
Right.
It's very peculiar. It's over the top usually.
Yeah.
And a little intimidating.
Angry and peculiar. Judd Apatow told me after Knocked Up, he said, "You're funniest when you're angry," and I felt like that really informed me of my acting work ever since. Is kind of levels of that, and I joked to Judd, it was like I thought I would try to. Kind of a people pleaser, so I said, "Hey, I just did this other movie and I was really angry. And I think it's really funny." He's like, "Okay, now the key is to try to." Now try to be funny without being angry. Yeah. And so it's really,
well, I think you have a lot of different, a lot of different, tones of anger.
Right.
Like, I think the Knocked Up anger is differently than the doctor.
Than the hangover anger.
The hangover anger, or even the Community anger.
Right.
I mean, there was something, I guess it was familiar to you in Knocked Up to be sort of a passively, like righteous doctor.
Yeah, that was and the way I played that was, a doctor who had a bad day. I never played it as an evil doctor. I think that's the key to playing because I do play a lot of quote unquote villains, and I feel the key is to never think you're a villain. You're just a guy who had a bad day.
Even if you've just killed 1,000 people.
Even if you just killed 1,000 people.
That was a bad day.
That was a bad day. You're just really stressed out.
Really
Genocide is bad. I'm not taking anything from that. But, I mean, something happened. I was at a water faucet and I was trying to drink some water and the water just splattered my face.
Yeah.
And that's why I killed all those people.
And that's why the Jews must die. Yeah, I get it. But I still it's interesting because I wouldn't make it sort of the Asian stereotype idea, other than when I watched your stand up, you sort of leaned on that a bit.
Oh
right?
Yeah. Write what you know superficially. I just, that was all I could get. I mean, I think I was also though very much a crowd guy. I was really into the crowd and trying to kill, and that's what I tell my friends who are stand-ups now. That was my undoing, because the key to get to the next level is to,
cut away from that,
what's funny to you. And I was always the kind of guy that, I'm good friends with Kevin Shea, and he's another Korean comic I know very well, and he's always like, your texts are much funnier than your act, and I was always funnier to my friends, my comedy friends outside of off stage, but I think I was too, addicted to the kill, I think. And I think there's a lot of comics out there that you just get caught up in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was hard for me to break.
And it's expected from you. I mean, and why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
On some level, the guys who go for periods without killing, I mean, they're sort of banking on the idea that eventually people will come around to them, or then you're just a guy that doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have to kill sometime.
Yeah.
Either it's going to be on your own terms or you're going to be pandering, but you're going to, you want to kill.
But I find when I act, I do exactly the opposite. It's only
definitely
what makes me laugh, and I don't care if anyone else thinks it's funny, but if it makes me laugh, then I do it. And so I feel like it's been the opposite end and it's been obviously more rewarding and more fulfilling on a lot of levels. But yeah, creatively, the most fulfilling is I'm just doing what I think is funny to me, or at the very least sublime to me.
But you build tension. I mean, you like to build tension.
I love to build tension,
and and you're just able to release it, which is good. But,
yeah,
I mean, there's been I've seen you do some parts where it gets pretty fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think I channeled into my inner rage. I mean, I think that my dad told me I was a perfect person except for my anger, whether it was chemical or Korean, I don't know. He goes, Ken, you are always good. You're a good guy. You're perfect except for you have temper. He would always tell me that.
Yeah.
And even when I was 8 years old, so I was always, I'm that guy who can, one of my best friends, Mike O'Connell, tells me, he does a great impression of me being mad in real life. He's like, this is horrible. This is horrible. This is fucked up. I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. That is like me in a nutshell. I think I'm an angry guy the self-aware angry guy.
Well, the
guilty angry guy.
I relate to that. And I used to have this thing with my ex-wife. I said that, well, that was about lying, but if it's gotten to the point where I'm so self-aware of anger. It's exactly what you said, that you're really just trying to close that gap between outburst and apology, to the point, where you hope that you don't need to get angry.
Yeah.
I mean, have you done anger management?
No, but I think that,
has it ever been destructive in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think in med school, I just was really angry because I just didn't know if this was the right path for me, but I think anger comes out of, feeling trapped in life. I think. I don't know. This is just based on my own experience. When you feel like you don't have any other options, or this is your only way out.
Well, that's frustration.
It's frustration. So maybe it's out of anxiety or frustration, but I felt like, I remember being very mad in med school a lot because I felt like, well, is this the path for me? Is this, I want to do comedy. But
you're still succeeding in med school.
But I'm still succeeding in med school. It's almost like that William Hurt line, in broadcast news. Well, I'm no good at what I'm being a success at. Where I felt like I was headed that way, and I was nervous about that. But somewhere along the line, that did subside in medicine when I did my residency in New Orleans, and the director of my residency was just a really enlightened guy who was on the board of Jazz Fest and was a prominent nephrologist there, and he told me he loved what I was doing. He loved the fact I was doing comedy, and he loved the fact that I was doing medicine, and I was kind of grown up to feel like they were definitely mutually exclusive. There is no in
You weren't
between.
going to be the angry Patch Adams?
I wasn't going to be yeah, I think after this interview I should write a treatment and
For the angry
Patch Adams. It may actually have legs.
Just do your style of comedy, but be Patch Adams.
Patch Adams.
Going in and talking to kids. What's the matter with you?
I just think just go full out stereotype within an angry kabuki makeup. It's just everything in comedy has been done, right? You just got to do a fresh spin on it.
I haven't seen that.
No one's seen that. No studio exec can say that has been done. I defy any studio exec listening to say that's been done. I think angry Patch Kabuki Adams could definitely be done.
Go ahead, pitch it.
But
just give me a created by credit.
I'll give you a story by credit because then I'll have I'll be listening to the podcast knowing that motherfucker stole my bit from my feral kingdom here. And but no, I think but my boss in residency said something that I found a lot of peace with, where you can be a great doctor with your comedy background, and you can be a great comedian. You can be good. Well, I wasn't great, but you have the potential to be great in your art because of your medical background. I never really thought about that.
But did you get any satisfaction from helping people?
Yes. I mean, that's what I miss the most. I don't miss being on call. I don't miss the clinic schedule.
Yeah.
I don't miss 10-minute appointments where you need an hour to see the patient. I don't miss any of that.
Yeah.
I miss every single one of my patients, and I still will email some of them. And
really?
Yeah. And then I've run into some of them. I mean, I live in Calabasas, and I practiced in Woodland Hills, so I run into former patients
and it's
all the
only
time.
a few years ago.
It was only like 4 years ago.
Well, before we get to the point where you decided not to do medicine anymore, which is pretty recently. So, it was recent, yeah. And you obviously had a certain amount of fear as to whether or not you could make a living.
I was panicked. I mean, it was my wife who kind of supported me leaving. She was, because I'd done Knocked Up during a vacation week at Kaiser, and I remember feeling after that might have been the best experience ever in my comedy life.
Yeah.
And I just love Judd so much. And I just had such a magical time shooting that. It was the first movie I'd done and the first big part of anything. And I did feel like a change come over me, wow, this is maybe this is it. And my wife was the one who supported me to leave. She's like, well, you're just going to be miserable. And maybe she was doing it, I think, out of love and also out of I don't want an angry Korean in my house, resenting me.
Any more angry.
I don't want any more angry. She's Vietnamese, and we always joke about that.
Now, let's talk about that a bit because, I've talked to, I don't know a lot of Korean people, but I do know that people from other cultures who are either, first or second generation in this country, that the pressure on them, by their parents to succeed is extraordinary. And, cause I talked to Cho about this and I've talked to Kumail Nanjiani, that there's just something about, either the second generation American experience that, it's like you have to succeed.
Yeah.
And now I don't know how much of that you had to deal with, but I have to assume it was a lot.
All the time.
I mean, from a young age.
Yes, from a young age, I was, I felt I was probably groomed to be a doctor.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister. She's still in North Carolina. She's a research librarian at Wake Forest. But so we've always been in academics. It's always not necessarily medicine, but it was definitely. I mean, I took calculus when I was 15. I was like.
Now, did you?
I skipped the grade when I was a kid. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, I did all that shit, and I graduated high school when I was 16.
Really?
Yeah.
So, and this was all because of pressure.
Yeah, pressure my parents put on me, and then the pressure you just start putting on yourself
because they wired you into that.
Yeah.
So, you're wondering why you're angry? Like it's just a sort of. I mean,
why am I angry, Mark? What?
Yeah. But I think that
there you go. Yeah.
But the one thing you were talking about, though, that I, in my own sort of exploration of anger, that there is frustration and there is a sense of not doing what you want to do. But I think a lot of it, people would say, would either come from fear or sadness. And I imagine that, not being able to, or feeling trapped is a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
But I imagine from a very young age that you were constantly just doing your homework.
Yeah. I was constantly doing my homework. I was doing everything I was told.
Did you have friends?
Yeah, I had. I mean, it was weird. I got along. I feel like show business kind of mirrors your high school behavior.
No shit.
That's my theory. And
Yeah.
and in high school, I never had really, really close friends, but I got along with everybody. I never got in a fight in my life. And I grew up in North Carolina. I'm a small Asian kid with anger issues growing up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I got along with everybody, like all the cliques, like every single
Me
clique.
too. That's a comedian
Really?
in
Yeah,
you.
that's a comedian. That is it. You're right. Comedians are diplomats, I think, by nature, to some extent.
But for some reason, I think it's diplomatic because we kind of want to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
We want everybody to like us.
They're entertainers, I guess that's the thing. Yeah.
Were you able to do that thing where you were able to sort of like charm, the guys that might have kicked your ass and actually make fun of them without
Absolutely.
them knowing it?
Oh, I don't think I got that. I don't think I ever made fun of them.
Yeah.
I think I was just so grateful I didn't get my ass kicked. I don't think I ever got to that. I think I would now. I think I would be, I still would never go up to the school, anyone who I didn't like in high school and then, but I would probably be a lot more passive aggressive, subversive now. I probably would.
But what happened with so you're frustrated, you're going through this pre-med and med and you graduate high school and you're 16. Oh, you were one of those guys.
I was one of those guys.
You must have
Youth of the Year, Greensboro, 1986. Look it up.
Yeah, look at the rage.
Look at the rage.
That's all me.
Yeah, it's the angriest kid on the block.
So you must have got some shit. Did you do other people's homework too?
No, I never, but I would always, never cheated, but I remember I would help out everybody. I would help. I was the kind of guy but I was not, I wasn't driven to be valedictorian either, even though.
Were you?
No, I was, salutatorian, which is second place.
And how much?
Which Korean means loser, but it's like.
That's what I was just going to say. I saw an Asian comic.
But I never cared about it. I made fun of the valedictorian.
But did your parents say anything? Were they disappointed?
No. They were happy.
Not even in your head you thought like, fuck.
No, because I got into Duke. I think what I learned now is they just wanted me to be stable. They didn't want me to be the best. And I think I misinterpreted that as a kid. And maybe till probably very recently is that they never ever wanted me to be number one, which is different from most other kind of stereotypical Korean families. They just wanted me to be happy and stable because I'm at a point in my life where I'm a working actor and I have a wife and 2 daughters, and my parents have never ever been happier for me. They have not resented the fact that I'm not doing medicine anymore. They know it, and even when I thought they weren't supporting me, they would come to all my plays at Duke, or they would come to all my stand-up shows. They came to Charlie Goodnight's all the time to watch me. Of course, I probably had a blind spot to that and just forgot that happened and just said, well, you don't support me. But, there is a little bit of he said, she said, I think, to my memory where definitely, they were more supportive than I ever thought that they did. And I remember being in med school, my dad would always brag about that I had a really unique hobby.
Yeah.
Always bragged about that. Hobby.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it was always a hobby.
Well, that's the thing. I think now they've never been happier because they know in the back of their heads that if everything craps out with acting, you can always be a doctor.
It's very true.
I mean, and I imagine you think that too.
I think that too. I renewed my license in June, so obviously I've become my father. I paid the $2,000 it was needed just to renew your California license.
That's hilarious. So you can practice.
I can practice. I still have an active DEA number and everything.
I think that's very smart.
I mean, maybe it's, again, insecurity, fear. I mean, it's just all those things.
No, but I mean, you put the work in. What do you...
It is a hard-won skill. Yeah, exactly.
And it takes a lot of work. But being a doctor is a very useful, very specific thing. You had to get through organic chemistry. But let's go back to when you started. Where was that moment where you're this little, brainy guy who works his ass off? I can only imagine you must have been miserable on some level doing all that homework and just.
I was just stressed out. I don't even know what miserable meant. I just remember just being stressed out all the time in high school.
So what was the moment where you were on stage where you're like, holy shit, this feels great?
There was like this. I was popular enough in high school to get into this kind of mock beauty pageant for guys,
Yeah,
and
as a joke.
As a joke, and I did that, and I just would. As a kid, I'd watch like wrestling, like Hulk Hogan, and I was a chubby kid. I was actually 15 pounds heavier than I am now. Actually, I was a chubby.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would go out there just do Hulk Hogan poses. I remember getting a standing ovation right there. That was like the last. It was like the last month of high school, and no one ever knew I was. I didn't know I could do that to anybody. I was so like revered, and then I sang. 'Cause I played violin and piano. I did all those things.
Oh my God!
And I sang like
violin
3 Times a Lady, the Commodore song.
Yeah.
And I knew the piano version. I sang it, and I got earnestly. Like for real, and I never sang publicly before, and I got a standing O for that. It was like 2 or 3 standing O's in that mock beauty pageant, and I still placed second. I didn't win it again. It's salutatorian in comedy as well as in academics. You know, I am that second place guy, and I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't. Yeah, maybe. You know, maybe.
So you sang
really honest.
once, twice, 3 times a lady for real?
For real.
Not as a joke.
Not as a joke.
Were they laughing?
No, they just loved it, and girls are crying. I remember that.
Oh my!
Like
God.
I had no idea that was in me. So that's what informed me when I went to college. I was like, I got to try acting.
How much do you think that, you know, whatever your appeal is, you know, comedically, do you think it is because now that you're beyond the stand-up that you are somewhat subverting, you know, what people think Asian funniness is?
I never think that way in terms of what I think Asian funniness is. I mean, you know, on a fundamental level.
Does it offend you when I say that?
No.
Oh, okay. You know, because
what the fuck?
I know. Why do you got to make it about Asian?
Why you got to go there, bro? I'm all fucking kissing your ass right now, saying how much I'm addicted to your podcast. I've tweeted my love for you, and you got to go you got to marginalize me like that?
Play the Asian card.
How dare you, sir?
Good.
God damn it, I'm fucking out of here. Again, yes, I'm angry. And then, of course, I suffix that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry for being mock angry
at you.
No, I just wonder because, like, you have to be aware on some level that, you know, when you look at your place, you are part of a clique of people that are popular in film comedies, you know, and you are one of them. You show up in what is the new wave of comedic actors.
Yeah.
You know, you're in The Hangover, you're in Community, you know, you're doing movies with Judd, you're hanging out with Zach in movies. I mean, you're that guy.
Yeah.
But some part of that, you know, and I've talked to, you know, black comics as well, that you have to be aware of the fact that you're the Asian guy.
Absolutely. I mean, on one level, absolutely. You have to be aware that you're the Asian guy, and
does that anger you?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's my responsibility if I'm going to do an Asian part, if I can add, whether I do it successfully or not, if I can add something to it. It's like I saw Zach last week, and we were talking about, like, in Hangover, where I was like, it was an ad lib where a couple times I say, it's funny because he's fat. I did that a couple, and those are ad libs, and those are meta jokes. You're commenting on a comedy.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of stuff I was attempting to do, you know, in those kind of roles, even like Pineapple Express, when you're doing like Asian characters, you're trying to either go meta, or you're trying to do something where you're just trying to put a different spin on it, whatever that is. And so I feel it's very important for me to do that, and my kind of responsibility to do that, and as opposed to just read it rote, which I will, you know, never do, you know, that kind of thing. But so on some level it's that, and then on some level it's like, I'm a character actor. I'm just a supporting actor. I'm a supporting character actor, and that's kind of what I do. So I was kind of like, maybe in my own head, like compare myself more to like a Joe Latrulio or Matt Walsh and those guys who are just brilliant character actors, and I feel like those are like those are guys I want to be like, you know, and kind of like, I wish I could do this like how Walsh does it, or how Joe does it. In my head, I actually try to think that, as opposed to like, I better nip it up right now. I don't think that, I haven't thought I better, Jesus, I'm sorry, I didn't nip it up.
But you have thought that before.
Yes.
When you were doing stand-up
was all about nipping it up for me, because I knew it would get an instant laugh.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was the accent, and at the very least, in Biloxi, you'll get a laugh.
Sure.
You know? And no offense to anyone in Biloxi, but it's the fact. You'll get a laugh. It is what it is. But it's but I think that definitely was a lot more. The Asian awareness was a lot more.
Do you feel bad about that?
No, not really. I think it's part of my process to get to where I am now.
Yeah.
So I think I probably would feel bad if I was doing that shtick now, I think, and if I didn't feel like I was growing, I'd feel a little guilty.
Now, by the time you decided to give up medicine, you'd already done The Hangover, really, right? Or shot it?
Yeah, I shot that 2 years ago.
And you gave up medicine
I'd given up medicine. That was a stressful time for a lot of levels, but I gave up medicine, and I'd done like a number of films. Knocked Up had just come out, and I'd done a number of films that were in the can in '07, but in '08 I really wasn't working much in terms of like movies. I hadn't gotten any like studio movies.
So were you still seeing patients where patients were like, did I see you?
No, I quit. I did do a couple of temp jobs where I like worked at an urgent care clinic in Van Nuys just to kind of keep my skills up a little bit, because I had all that free time and I was just bored. I was like, okay, let me just, This
is after you quit.
This is after I quit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did a handful of those. Like I'd say like.
You just saw patients at urgent care?
Yeah, an urgent, like a walk-in clinic.
Just keep your chops up? Like, I just gotta get on stage for a few minutes.
There was a bit of that going on.
Gotta feel some stomach.
Yeah. There's some palpation I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need
You only feel your glands in your neck. I'm getting rusty.
There's some glands I need to palpate, dude. I'm jonesing for palpation. Yeah, exactly. There was a little bit of that going, and because there was guilt, like me having all this free time and like, oh,
and being
God.
a caregiver.
And being
on some level that, you could be helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was a guilt on that. Like, geez, I probably fucked up and did the wrong thing. I picked a great time to quit when my wife was pregnant with twins, and I haven't worked in fucking 8 months, and I was like, Jesus, is this? I don't know what was going on. And then, but that was a time where the shit really hit the fan, when Tran was diagnosed with breast cancer. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in July of '08, and then I had just booked The Hangover, and it was just, and I wasn't going to do it, and then Tran, was just, and my mother-in-law, who came and took care of the kids and Tran just a few days I was away in Vegas, just that took everything else. I feel like my life has been defined. I used to think my life was defined before medicine, after medicine, and now definitely my life is defined like before cancer, after cancer, at least from my spouse's,
And this was after she had the kids?
After she had the kids, yeah.
And how is she?
She's cancer-free. She's fine. It was 2 years. Yeah, it was an aggressive cancer.
That's great to hear.
Stage 3. It was like had gotten to a point where it was invading the muscle a little bit, and
you're both doctors. So
we're both fucking doctors.
And
saying, what the fuck? How we would joke about that. We were joking because she found a lump when she was breastfeeding, and I was like. And both of us, I married her for a reason. We both have the same kind of sensibility. And she's like, yeah, it's probably cancer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Anyway. And then it was misdiagnosed as benign initially. They did a biopsy that was wrong. And then it was, then they took out the mass only because it was getting bigger.
Right.
And she was just like, fuck it, I'll just get it removed. And then it was getting red, and my worst case scenario as a doctor was, oh man, it's a fucking abscess. It needs to be lanced. And that was my worst case scenario. And then when it came back as cancerous, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I didn't know it was just,
so fucking scary.
It is so scary, and it just there's no family history of it, and it was like, and it just. But the kids were the kids were definitely a blessing in that, because they're only one. They're just happy to live. So when you're worried about, I guess, dying, and they're happy to live, they're and they didn't know that mommy was suffering. So they were definitely our Prozac. They were like our therapy.
Sure.
Because it was great. It was great that we were so. We had shit to do. Like kids still had to be fed every 3 hours, and you still had to do that. And I think doing a Hangover was so fucking therapeutic for me, because, well, number one, I got to give Todd Phillips, the director, and a lot of credit, because I was only there in Vegas I only shot the movie for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then all the off days they would fly me back to home in LA, and so while Tran would get her chemo, and it was doing that was, and Tran was right. She was like, you do this, you'll be, I know you're an angry, burned out guy. You're gonna be even more like burned out at home caring for the kids. I was doing everything at home, and she was like, you just needed a little bit of a break. And my mother-in-law, my in-laws live in San Francisco, and she came down and basically just stayed with us for about 4 months, and it was great. That's why I think Hangover for me, on one level it was Knocked Up, getting me work, and then another level was Hangover, definitely kind of like realizing just life is short. As an actor, it's up to you to make these, think of the stupidest, bravest choice you could do and just do it, and that was my idea to pitch it naked, and it just appealed to Todd and the sensibility of the movie.
You did that?
Yeah, that was my idea. And, cause I kept reading it over in my mind, cause in the script it just had me coming out with pants.
Coming out of the trunk naked.
Yeah, so, and I was like, what if it was naked? I think it'd be really funny. And he was like, but actors pitch shit all the time to directors, and directors are like, yeah, you're just an actor, just, know your lines.
Yeah.
Dummy. And
it was funny.
And it was, and he was like, he's like, that's genius, and let's do it. And then, it just, but I've never to this day ever had a director just embrace any idea I've ever had so wholeheartedly, to the point I was kind of nervous. I was like, cause he made me sign a nudity waiver within like an hour. Cause his,
he didn't want you to back.
He didn't want me to back. Yeah, he was afraid I was going to back out, I think. or his associate was, Scott Budnick was, they're like, we got to get this in writing. And I'd already made up my mind. It was like, I didn't even for once consider not doing it. So, I just felt like it just served the tone of the movie. And
also it seems to me that if I'm hearing you properly in terms of your history with comedy, that, it seems that given the stress that you were under as a kid, and now, the compounded stress of career fear and your wife's illness, that, you really are able to get out of yourself with comedy, and you're able to express your anger, and just like, I assume you lose yourself pretty thoroughly when you are acting.
I'm in a trance. It's like, yeah, definitely.
So it's interesting to me that you made that choice in light of this horrendous, potentially tragic situation you were in, and the pain of the illness, that you're like, I'm going to expose myself completely. I'm going to just bathe in this choice.
Yeah. There was a bit of that where I was like,
maybe you didn't think of that, but it just seems like such an extreme decision to make, to be naked in a movie that millions of people are going to see, in the face of your wife's cancer. It's sort of like, it's just sort of interesting to me.
Yeah, it's just kind of.
I know it's just funny, but it's a big choice to be naked.
It's a big choice to be naked. But for some reason, see, I ran it by my wife too, because my wife loves comedy, and I was like, even before I went to Vegas, I was like, Tran, wouldn't it be funny if I was naked in it? She was like,
Yeah. And what'd she say?
She's getting her chemo. Yeah, that'd be awesome. She was like, yeah. Even with the chemo running, she was like, dude, that's fucking funny. Cause she's my buddy. She's kind of my partner in crime. She was like, that's really fucking funny. So it was like, I always, like, before I do anything, I always run it. I'm a pussy. I just run it by my wife. But I ran that one. That was really important for me, that I made sure that everyone was on board. So it was a calculated, risk.
You don't want to surprise her with
I'm not going to surprise. Yeah. Like, right when she's getting better. I'm cancer free. What the fuck?
Oh, you're in a trunk naked.
You're in a fucking, here. Fucking motherfucker.
How long was that? I'm trying to picture two doctors, around, a cancer diagnosis. Were you angry at the doctors who misdiagnosed it?
Yeah, I was angry. I was definitely
because
mad.
It's not really, you're not a cancer doctor and you're not a surgeon, so you can only speculate.
Exactly, right. I'm an internist who doesn't do any surgery, so it's, I was mad as a patient, but I was very understanding as a doctor. I could see why the doctor missed it. They did biopsies. They did 3 core biopsies. They were very thorough biopsies that was done. They just missed the tumor. I think that's what happened. In my head, it's like a basketball game where you play the basketball game perfectly, X's and O's, and you lose. It happens, and unfortunately, it just happened. And there's no anger in terms of they made a mistake. They did everything in their power to do it, and as a doctor, I would not have done anything differently.
Isn't that interesting, though? Because a lot of
so I do have that compassion. Yeah. That's why I don't have that anger towards anyone, or even this diagnosis, or even the complications that would ensue from that.
Right.
And we paid the price for that. But had they found it earlier, it had only a couple months, it wouldn't have changed anything. And I know that, and that as a doctor, I do know, it wouldn't have changed the treatment, it wouldn't have changed the surgery, it wouldn't have changed the radiation that ensued, it wouldn't have changed anything. And I'm just grateful. So when I look at it that way, I'm grateful that it was followed up and it was found. That to me is more important than,
than missing it.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people forget that about doctors, and it's one of the reasons why my father, does not, practice in the same way that he used to, is that, people are so quick to blame doctors, to sue doctors, to accuse them of not doing something. There's a whole business built around waiting for a doctor to fuck up.
Right.
And a lot of times, doctors, they don't know. They don't know everything.
It's trial and error. Medicine is just trial and error. You're trying to fit a clinical science in to the best educated guesswork that you can. And that's what medicine, to me, and I would tell patients, when I was working, I would actually tell them, like, in a weird way, the comedy helped me, because I would say, okay, I don't know what's going on with you. We're trying to find what's wrong. We're trying to figure out the cause of a cough. And you did all these studies, and the CAT scan was negative, or chest x-ray's negative. Look, okay, I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll kind of have to improvise here. We'll kind of have to ad-lib it right now.
And that's when you took your pants off.
That's when I took my pants off. I said, listen, we're going to improv. Let me just do this. This is kind of, this may help me in a movie 5 years later.
It's unorthodox, but
it's unorthodox.
You're going to laugh.
It's my process. So, because you'll laugh at the sight of it's not micro penis. It's an actual penis that was flaccid. So just look, just Mrs. Feinstein, just relax and just let Asian Patch Adams do his work. It was, but yeah, and even our oncologist said, this is a very rare kind of cancer. It's not your typical breast cancer. It was very aggressive, like a melanoma, kind of aggressive. And it was like, we're gonna have to improvise a little bit. He said that, and that I responded well to, actually. I was like, well, medicine is all improv. It's all like guesswork, and you have to listen to your patient, and really, that's why I don't care how fucking smart you are. If you don't know how to talk to a person or don't know how to listen to a person, you'll never be a good doctor. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care what school you went to. Because the one thing I did, I wasn't the smartest doctor there, but I definitely could figure out or listen to a person or get the gestalt of it. I could see if a patient's complaining of abdominal pain and get the sense maybe it's not the abdominal pain, maybe it's the fact they're depressed or something else. And some doctors I know will just go down every blind alley looking for that cause of abdominal pain when you see the lady crying hysterically. And
all clinical causes.
And it's, all clinical self-awareness.
Right.
And maybe my own self-awareness as a person, even my own perceived flaws, actually became my strengths as a doctor. I think the self-awareness my dad kind of like instilled in me, it helped me be that much.
By telling you were angry?
Yeah.
You're a good guy, but you're angry?
Yeah, I'm a good guy, but I'm angry.
Yeah.
But it helped me be sensitive to other people. And I do consider myself a very sensitive guy.
Yeah.
But that's good. That can be bad in some social situations, but I think in a clinical situation is very beneficial.
I think like my father, who's a doctor, he has a very hard time with not being able to practice, the medicine exactly the way he wants to practice it because of budget constraints. And he thinks that's a crime.
Well, I mean, with all due respect to your father basically flourished as
crazy.
your father. Well, your father flourished as a doctor when it was booming. It was in its its medical boom years. You know, everything was flourishing. You could hang out with a pharmaceutical rep and go to like Tunisia for a month or whatever, you could
come
do
back
that.
with a box of Viagra.
Yeah, you come back with a box of Viagra. You come back with you can get courtside tickets at a Lakers game, that really easily. If you're a doctor, you just had it all economically. And then by the time I became a physician, that was all stripped away. So all we had basically, especially in the West Coast, was mostly managed care. So I think, ignorance is bliss on my part because I didn't know how good private practice is because I never ever have attempted to try that.
And there's a lot of that old guard that still fight this idea that they got spoiled.
Yeah.
And that in most other places in the world, doctors are almost civil servants. Like in England in the British system, I mean, they do all right, but during the boom time with the private practice, I mean, doctors were huge, and I don't think necessarily that meant the care was good either.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about my father, but I mean in general.
I really do think doctors and actors are very similar, where an actor doesn't want to be directed too much. We want that freedom to improvise. Right. We want that freedom to make a creative stamp, and doctors want that same freedom to make the decisions they want to make. And, and doctors it is very convenient to make the enemy the administration, where it's very convenient for me to make the enemy, it's the studio that won't let me do, that won't let me do it naked or whatever. And then, and then sometimes in retrospect, maybe that was just my ego talking. Maybe that wasn't the best choice. Or, it's, hindsight being 2020, I think that, there are definitely constraints, and it's a pain in the ass. The only problems I ever had was when there's a test that I knew that had to be done, but sometimes you have to go through the paperwork. It'll just take a fucking 6 weeks to get it done.
Yeah.
That's what would frustrate me. The waits. But you know what? In England, you got to wait.
Yeah.
Canada, you got to wait.
Yeah.
So my thing was, okay, this is stupid for us to wait. I know what the deal is, but just the red tape is making me do this. That's where, you
get frustrated.
For me, I found a way. I was never angry as though. I found a way just to schmooze my way in to, hey, I call my ENT buddy who's a buddy of mine. Hey, man, dude, is there any way you can, I would wait for my best friend who was a specialist on the call that day. It's his turn to be called in. Hey, buddy, can I?
Yeah.
I got this patient. Can you just see him tomorrow?
Yeah.
Do that? Yeah, sure, but hey, you doing any shows at the Ice House? Yeah, dude, I would totally use my stand-up notoriety. I would use that like a motherfucker, dude. I'm doing it because I would use guys that were young specialists, hipper doctors that would come hang out with me, we'd party with, or come to my comedy shows. I would wait for that guy to be on call and say, dude, can you fucking? I know you probably need a wait, but you know, just doing it tomorrow. It's I would do that.
I'll get you 2 tickets for the Ice House.
I'll get you and your girl in for free. Hey, how's she doing, man?
So there's an argument to be made that you should continue practicing because you could probably give the best. You could be the best doctor in California.
I could well, my wife says that all the time. She was like, everyone talks about you quitting your job, but people, you're a good doctor. I had a good, I got it. I got it down to a science on how to work at Kaiser, at an HMO, in terms of how to finesse the system, how not to get angry at it, and then how to use it, how to kind of schmooze your way into getting the test that you want.
But now you could say, you want to meet Jack Galifianakis?
That's what exactly I'm going to do now.
Can you get this guy into surgery tomorrow?
That's really funny. Hey, Zach. Hey, you want to talk to Zach? You want Zach to email you back?
Yeah.
He'll probably say something very witty and dry.
Just get me this. Get this person on the gurney now.
Yeah, dude. I absolutely. If I went back now,
you'd be like a celebrity.
I would be. Yeah, I'll be practicing bad medicine at this point, getting any test I wanted. Yeah, give me an MRI for Phyllis. Yeah, I'll throw you in. Throw you in a pre-screening for Transformers 3. You want that? You want me, Michael Bay? Yeah, I'll get that in. You get to me Megatron too if you want.
That's hilarious.
That is hilarious. You're right.
Do you find that that you are a doctor? Do you the thing always impressed me about my dad. Now I know you're an actor now, but there's that moment. Have you ever had that moment where someone actually says, "Is there a doctor?"
Yeah. When I was in residency,
that must be a great feeling to be like, "Yes, I'm a doctor."
No, I was scared shitless. I was. I was in my residency. Still not a full doctor yet. You get your MD, but that doesn't mean shit. You just you have to do your residency after your dad would know that, so I was an intern, barely a doctor, and I was on a plane, to Hawaii, and someone was having a heart attack or having chest pain, and there's a doctor there, and I raised my hand and decided to take the blood pressure and give nitroglycerin and just monitor the blood pressure, make sure that the nitroglycerin wasn't lowering the blood pressure. I was really cool about it, but
you knew what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing, but I was scared. Could not have been more scared. But you're right. There is that. I forgot. There was a party recently. Someone was choking at a stand-up comedian. It was Ralphie May, who I go back with when I was doing stand-up at the Laugh Factory. It was it might have been now 8 years ago. A woman was choking at her party, and I just quickly did. She was 200 pounds. I just lifted her up, just did the Heimlich boom,
And, really?
Yeah, and I didn't think anything of it. I just went back and just had my beer after that. It was not a big, because I guess I was used to in the hospital where I did take hospital call where if a patient flatlines, the clear, advanced cardiac life support. So I think I was in that zone as a doctor where I'd been in a couple of,
I got
couple
this.
of awards. Yeah, it was kind of I got, it's almost like me talking to my doctor. Oh yeah, this patient, let me talk to you later, Tim. I got this. Let me do it. Boom, blah, you'll be okay. Hey, you wanna? You want some juice? All right, I'll see you later. So anyway, Tim, I was talking to this bitch, right? It's kind of just
second nature.
It was kind of second. There was a time where I was definitely just when right now, I think I'm as an actor, I'm entering a zone where I feel relaxed and kind of in the moment a lot, which is the best feeling in the world artistically. And then there was definitely that point in medicine where I was feeling relaxed and in the zone. I knew what I could do well, and that was that.
Oh, that's great, and I'm glad your wife is healthy. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of that is. I mean, and I think a lot of really helped us as doctors that with the first chemotherapy dose, her tumor markers went down, so we knew that there was a good chance that we could beat this thing. Although there was like a 23% chance of a cure, or it's with that kind of tumor, it's either all or none, and it's either universally fatal or you survive it completely. And once we saw her CA-2729 go down to normal levels, we were thinking, okay, I think we got a shot at this. I think this is good. And that was after the first dose of chemo. So, and that was before hangover. So we had a sense that there was hope on the horizon, and that she was responding well, and all signs were a go. And then after she had her mastectomy and some of the nodes were removed, it turned out everything, because you got to do tissue sampling. You have to do biopsies on all the tissue you've taken out to see exactly, did you get all the cancer or not?
Yeah.
There was no cancer in it, which was a great thing.
Right.
So you still need to take it out, because that's what you have to do in breast cancer. I mean, with that kind of level of breast cancer. But you look at that, and it was completely normal. And I just remember that was in November when she had her. Had the mastectomy, and we were just so fucking happy. We knew we were like, and that, I think, actually being doctors, because there's the sense of being a doctor, you're the worst patient because you get really neurotic. Oh, it's not a cough.
Million options.
Yeah, it's not, dude, this isn't a rash, this is rickettsia susugamushi or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah, you've had that. I mean, we all, doctors are the worst hypochondriacs, but.
Yeah.
But when they're early indicators that a sign is going well, like if a movie studio, if they know that their Friday receipts at the box office are doing well, they know they've got their weekend covered.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing. Whereas a doctor, that first response dose fucking worked.
Yeah. But I think that honestly, there's some part of you that having to deal with that and having to deal with the fear and the pain, and then moving through that, had to at least have given you that in light of her being supportive of your choice to be an actor, but to really realize, like, I'm going to fucking do what I want to do. I mean, like, you only live once, And,
that's exactly what I was thinking of Hangover. That was my whole rationale of going naked in Hangover, was like, you only live once, because I could go at any time. Might as well just fucking don't hold back. Yeah, that's exactly it. And
I think that reads in all of your.
I think definitely since Hangover, I think
you don't hold
I've
back.
been more aggressive, but I think I have been a little bit more aggressive consciously. I remember that first season of Community, I was definitely aggressive because I was a teacher, I was an angry Spanish teacher. I mean, Dan Harmon, who created that show, was like a genius. But he let me just it was great. And then, but it's funny now, artistically speaking, I know I think now this season of Community, the second season, I'm not as angry anymore. So artistically, like, I'm asking, okay, well, where do I go with this? Well, I think my character's slowly about to have a nervous breakdown, but it's manifesting in weird ways.
Yeah.
And so, it's not a conscious attempt, but I'm always like, well, let's see how weird I can just do it. I don't know if it's funny. And my feeling is like, well, there are 8 people on that show that are really funny. It's not a competition, so let me just see if I can be the weirdest guy of the cast. So there's always this thing I'm having, so I'm always trying to make one of our actors, Danny Pudi, who plays Abed, he's a very good laugher. He's like in a good audience. I'm always just trying to make him break. So every scene I do now this season, if he's laughing, because he's going to laugh at something that's weird or sublime, then I know I'm doing my job. So he's my gauge. So I feel like this year on the show, and it's a good artistic thing for me to do, because I need to get better as an actor, is like, okay, well, let me see how weird I can go. I think maybe that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Like, I haven't really thought about it that consciously, but I noticed, like, I can't be... I notice when you're on a TV show, you can't repeat. I'm trying not to repeat them. We all have a limited set of moves, but we can't repeat the same amount of moves that I did last year. And so they very smartly not made me a teacher this year, and I'm a student who's lost my job, and now I'm there but I'm going back to the school that fired me and that humiliated me, and I want to join the study group, but they're always turning me down. So it's kind of like I'm Wile E. Coyote and trying to chase it, but I'm never succeeding. So I have so much more pathology to play off of this.
Oh yeah, and also the self-hatred of actually making the choice to go to the school that fired you.
That's exactly what I told myself. What the self-hatred that I have for myself to go back to the school that fired me you just gotta, there's so many layers there to explore. And I told Dan, I hope I never join the study group because I hope I'm just like, I'm just this, the amount of weirdness that's going now.
Well, that's exciting.
It's exciting. Yeah, it's fun.
So you make it interesting for yourself.
It's making it, I think that's the key is trying to, make it interesting.
And did you finish shooting Hangover 2?
No, we're starting up, actually.
Oh, really? How's it look? How's the script look?
It's great. I mean, I can't, obviously, I can't get anything more detailed than that, but it's, I think everyone, it's
over the top, like.
At the end of the day, that's like another, Todd Phillips is like family to me, where he was a lot of people don't know this about Todd. The
director.
Yeah, Todd Phillips, the director. Like every day when I was on set, he was always asking, how's Tran doing? How's Tran doing? My sister's an oncologist. Anything I can do. And he was the guy, let me fly back to LA. And Bradley Cooper, who I did a movie with prior to that, we're good friends. And only he and Bradley actually knew at that time. I didn't tell anyone. And those guys were, when I see them, I do see them as entities now, as big success entities as they are, and deservedly so. But I see them also like, man, even if the film made no money, it was just the best experience of my career because they were there for me when I was down and they got it. And Bradley actually drove me home the last day of shooting and drove me back home because he knows Tran very well, and he got to see the kids, and she saw Tran when all her hair was out. And we spent like the last two Christmases together, and even while Tran was going through chemo. So there's a big family feel on that set, and now it's, with Ed, Bradley, and Zach, who weren't, they knew each other, but now they're really good friends. And Todd, needless to say, and Zach, they got Due Date coming out. Everyone's like, I go there, it's like there's a sense of family there, we're in this together, and I don't know, it's just it's one of those things where, I look at all those guys, especially like Zach, I'm just so, I honestly think he's the funniest guy working. I'm biased, but he's the funniest guy working right now. In my opinion, and I see it up close. But
it's nice. I think
he's the funniest motherfucker.
Oh yeah, he
makes me laugh.
He is very funny, and he's a very sweet guy.
He's the sweetest, most sensitive guy, and people don't know about it. People don't know how sweet and sensitive he is. He's the sweetest guy.
Yeah, and not affected at all.
No.
I interviewed him in his trailer. I think.
Yeah, I heard that.
I heard that. Due Date. But it's also nice for me to hear as a guy that, is not, in that world, but in comedy, that there is a community here. And I think a lot of people, assume that we all, breathe this rarefied air and that, nobody really talks to each other. We're all a bunch of assholes. But to hear that even from me about Todd and about, and about, Bradley, it's very sweet. It's, they're just people.
They're just people, yeah. And it's really cool to see them. Oh, they helped me out through some bad shit. And, they're really rich and famous. Good for them.
Yeah.
God, I just saw,
there's part of you going, they're not doctors.
Yeah, I know. I do. Raise your hand if anyone had a terminal degree. No one here. Maybe that's why I can be so gracious in saying everyone's so funny. I can say people are funnier than me because I know they're not fucking smarter than me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I can save lives.
I can save lives. I saved a choking lady at Ralphie May's party. Raise your hand if you've ever saved someone's life at a Ralphie May party.
Nobody.
Nobody. Nobody here. Not Zach. Not Walsh. Not Latrolio. Not Apatow.
Me.
No, just me. This guy. Right here.
Exactly. I really appreciate you being here, and good luck with your future, and I'm glad to hear about your wife.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, what the fuckers, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. What a sweet guy. A really good guy. And it's amazing to me that he's a doctor. I almost felt like I needed... I thought it would be awkward for me to ask him to take a look at some things. So that didn't happen. But look, I'm happy you're listening. Please go to the Punchline if you want to see me if you're in the Bay Area. Those dates are November 11th, 12th, and 13th. Crowfoot Ballroom in Pontiac, Michigan. November 15th. Love to see you there. JustCoffee.coop. Hold on, I'll give you one. Pow! I just shit my pants. JustCoffee.coop, available at WTFpod.com, where you can also kick in a few shekels to the cause. This is a listener-supported show. Get on that mailing list. Buy some of those new shirts. The cat shirt's very popular. The Scream shirt also picking up a little momentum. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your listenership. I hope you enjoyed the show. Is that all I have to say? PunchlineMagazine.com. Is that all I have to say? I need to take a nap. I've got new underwear.